It's Wednesday at Mugello, officially just another quiet filming day in Ferrari red. But anyone who understands how this sport works knows better. Behind the polished PR lines and carefully curated marketing shots, this could be the most consequential test Ferrari will run all season. The cameras might be there, but this isn't about publicity. It's about survival. At the heart of it all, a brand new rear suspension system, quietly engineered over months of struggle, doubt, and relentless development. Ever since the disqualification in Shanghai for excessive plank wear, Ferrari's engineers have been cornered. Forced to raise the ride height on the SF25, they've sacrificed not just pace, but confidence. Their once razor-sharp aero platform turned peaky, unstable, unreliable when pushed to the limit. Lewis Hamilton himself admitted, "We're running higher than we'd like," a brutally honest assessment that cut through the team's usual optimism. And here, at Mugello, it all converges. A circuit notorious for testing mechanical grip and aero balance in equal measure. Officially, Ferrari gets 200 kilometers to film. In reality, that's nearly 40 laps of rigorous high-pressure evaluation. The FIA may be watching to enforce limits, but Ferrari's pit wall is watching for something far more important. Proof that their work has paid off. The stakes couldn't be higher. This isn't just a test. It's the last chance to rescue their season before the entire factory's attention shifts to 2026. At first glance, the changes to the SF25's rear suspension might look subtle. Revised geometry, modified attachment points, and new damper characteristics designed to control rear-end squat under acceleration. But dig deeper, and the scale of Ferrari's engineering effort becomes clear. This isn't a minor tweak. It's a wholesale rethinking of how the car generates rear grip while preserving aerodynamic consistency. The disqualification in China exposed the knife edge Ferrari had been dancing on all year, running their car low, chasing ground effect downforce, but skating perilously close to plankwear regulations. Raising the ride height after that penalty ruined the balance they'd carefully honed through pre-season testing. The car became nervous mid-corner, unpredictable in braking zones, and far too peaky when weight transfer loaded the rear axle. At Mugello, Ferrari's engineers were searching for one thing: stability under load without sacrificing aero performance. The new rear suspension aims to decouple mechanical compliance from aero sensitivity, allowing the car to squat and absorb bumps without forcing a detrimental change in ride height mid-corner. It's a nuanced solution to a complex problem, and Mugello's sweeping turns and cambered crests provided the perfect environment to gather meaningful data. Every lap was carefully programmed, alternating between constant speed runs and aggressive acceleration phases to analyze suspension behavior across different loads. Telemetry from damper travel sensors, vertical acceleration readings, and tyre temperature maps all fed back to the engineers in real time, painting a picture of whether this design could finally free the SF25 from its self-inflicted prison. Ferrari wasn't just looking for compliance, they were chasing predictability, grip consistency, and ultimately confidence. Because without that, no driver, not even Hamilton, can deliver lap times that matter. But technical upgrades are only part of the story. This Mugello test was also a psychological battlefield, not just between Ferrari and its machinery, but within the team itself. Imagine what it meant for Lewis Hamilton, still adapting to the scarlet car in his first season away from Mercedes, to climb into the cockpit, knowing that every lap of this filming day could define the rest of his year. His comments after China were unusually blunt, a clear sign that frustration was setting in. Ferrari's engineers have spent years designing cars around Charles Leclerc's driving style: sharp front end, edgy rotation, a setup that rewards commitment but punishes hesitation. Hamilton's arrival demanded a different philosophy, one that emphasizes stability and predictability over ultimate corner entry sharpness. The tension between these philosophies has played out all season in subtle setup compromises and contrasting feedback in driver briefings. And then there's Leclerc himself, the loyal Scuderia lieutenant, watching as the team he's built his career around bends to accommodate the seven-time world champion. Sharing the Mugello test with Hamilton meant splitting precious laps and running different programs, all while knowing that whichever driver felt more comfortable in this revised SF25 might well seize momentum heading into the critical summer run of races. Inside the garage, this wasn't just a technical evaluation, it was a test of trust, teamwork, and psychological resilience. Could Hamilton and Leclerc coexist in a team that's still finding its identity post-disqualification? Could Ferrari's engineers find a setup compromise that satisfied two very different champions? Mugello's 200 kilometers might have looked calm from the outside, but inside that pit wall and those cockpits, the pressure was immense and deeply personal. Beyond the garage doors, the Constructors Championship looms large over every decision Ferrari makes. Their hold on second place is anything but secure, with Mercedes closing fast and McLaren refusing to back down. The math is brutal. Every tenth of a second they can claw back with this rear suspension upgrade translates directly into critical championship points, not just at Spa, but across a string of high-speed circuits where rear stability under load defines competitiveness. If this upgrade works as intended, Ferrari could regain approximately 1/10 per lap in race conditions, which over a full Grand Prix distance would equate to almost 7 seconds. Easily the difference between P4 and a podium finish, or between splitting the Mercedes drivers and being beaten by both. And these points matter more than ever. Prize money distributions, resource allocations under the cost cap, and even development time advantages for 2026 all hang in the balance. If Ferrari can hold on to P2 in the Constructors, it buys them crucial wind tunnel time and CFD hours for next year's project. Lose it, and they'll find themselves locked in a downward spiral where fewer points translate to fewer resources, and fewer resources means slower cars. The decision to test this suspension at Mugello wasn't just a technical call, it was an investment in the team's future competitiveness. A gamble, yes, but a calculated one. Ferrari knows exactly what's at stake in every kilometre they run. Ferrari has been here before. Throughout their long and storied history, key technical turning points have defined entire seasons. Think back to 1996, when a desperate push mid-season brought aerodynamic upgrades that allowed Michael Schumacher to salvage podiums from an uncompetitive package. Or 2017, when Ferrari's hopes briefly soared on the strength of a strong early season, only to falter due to reliability issues and aero instability they never truly solved. This Mugello test fits squarely into that tradition. A crucial mid-season intervention that could either reignite their campaign or cement 2025 as another year of what-ifs. There's a reason they chose Mugello too. This is Ferrari territory, a track they own, one that carries emotional weight and historical symbolism. When Ferrari tests at Mugello, it's not just another day at the office. The circuit's fast, flowing corners and high-speed compressions mimic the kinds of demands they'll face at Spa and Monza, tracks that will define the remainder of the European leg of the championship. The last time Ferrari staged a critical test here, they emerged with a package that transformed their qualifying pace overnight. This time, it's not about Saturdays. It's about finding consistency across an entire race distance. The engineers, mechanics and drivers all understand the stakes. When they rolled out the SF25 on Wednesday morning, they weren't just testing parts, they were participating in another chapter of Ferrari's constant battle to remain competitive in the most demanding racing series on Earth. The echoes of history are everywhere at Mugello, and that weight, combined with current technical challenges, makes this test more than just preparation. It's an inflection point. What happens next depends entirely on what Ferrari's data tells them in the aftermath of this Mugello test. If the rear suspension upgrade delivers the stability and predictability the drivers are demanding, it could become a defining advantage at Spa, a circuit that rewards mechanical grip under load and penalises aero instability through its high-speed sections. But the consequences stretch beyond Belgium. Monza, Suzuka, and even the United States Grand Prix at Austin will all expose any remaining weaknesses in the SF25's balance and compliance. Get it right now, and Ferrari could mount a sustained defensive P2 in the Constructors. Get it wrong, and this upgrade risks becoming an expensive distraction. Time and resources spent chasing marginal gains while Mercedes and McLaren continue to optimize their more stable platforms. There's also a psychological dimension. A successful upgrade would give Hamilton and Leclerc a car they can trust, something they haven't had since Australia. That confidence would cascade through qualifying sessions, race starts and critical strategy calls. It would also signal to the paddock that Ferrari isn't fading quietly into the background, but is prepared to fight for every point through the final race. In short, this rear suspension test at Mugello isn't just about Spa, it's about setting the tone for the remainder of the season, and possibly determining whether Ferrari ends 2025 as credible contenders or as another story of missed opportunities and unrealised potential. Even beyond this season's immediate championship battle, what Ferrari achieves with this rear suspension upgrade will ripple into 2026 and beyond. The technical philosophies they validate here, particularly around rear-end compliance, ride height management, and balancing mechanical grip with aero consistency, will inform next year's design under the evolving regulatory landscape. The disqualification in China served as a brutal reminder that pushing technical boundaries carries significant risks, but it also exposed where Ferrari's development philosophy needs refinement. If this rear suspension delivers, it will show that Ferrari can adapt quickly and effectively under pressure. an essential trait as Formula One heads into a major rules reset. But there's more at stake than just hardware. Success at Mugello would bolster morale inside Maranello, reassuring the hundreds of engineers, designers and mechanics that their work still translates into on-track performance. It would re-establish trust between drivers and technical leadership, a trust that has felt fragile in the wake of disappointing results and difficult compromises. And most importantly, it would send a message to rivals that Ferrari remains capable of technical innovation even when cornered. In that sense, this filming day at Mugello is about far more than 2025 championship points. It's a test of Ferrari's resilience as a racing institution. Proof that even when their season looks salvageable only on paper, they can still dig deep and find the solutions that matter.